Well, hey there, all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to another episode of the Age Groupies Podcast, part of the United WeCast Network. I'm Mike Ergo, and along with my co-host Lindsay Hiken, we're here to talk to you about all things related to endurance sports from an amateur athlete perspective. We talk about how to have fun along the way and make our sports a little less intimidating. You can follow the show on Instagram at Age Groupies, join our Age Groupies page on Facebook, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hiken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to email us, agegroupies@gmail.com. If you guys like the show, please leave us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
I want to talk to you about UCAN Superstarch. UCAN is what I consume on the race course and for long or intense training sessions. Now, it's different than any sports nutrition out there because they use Superstarch. Superstarch is a complex carbohydrate that doesn't spike blood sugar, delivering a slow and steady release of glucose into the bloodstream. Stable blood sugar provides steady energy to both the muscles and the brain and controls cravings caused by blood sugar lows. I recently used this to complete the Pandemic Man 70.3 using only UCAN, and let me tell you guys, I was surprised by how well it worked. Pleasantly surprised. I didn't need to use any gels, anything, just UCAN. And I felt great. I didn't feel bloated, didn't feel hungry, didn't have any of those intense cravings I get on the race course a lot. So I want you to try it out too. Learn about why you should fuel the pursuit with UCAN and save 10% on all your orders by using the link in the show notes. Thanks.
We're good.
Welcome to Age Groupies Podcast. This week we have my buddy Janet Renner. She's been on before when it was just solo. She hasn't been on with Mike. So, well, welcome, Janet.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And nice meeting you, Mike.
It's good to meet you too. Yeah, we talked a little bit offline, and we figured out we have a love for dachshunds in common.
Exactly.
I know the listeners can't see this, and it's a total aside, but what is your Zoom background, Mike? Is that
It's Tom Cruise laughing like a madman, and it's kind of just representative, I think, of what a lot of us are going through in this pandemic. Kind of a little cabin fever, maybe.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Well, so Janet, one of the things I wanted to talk to you most about is during this pandemic, now, so I'm going to just go with positive thinking and believe that the races that I have planned for later in the year are going to happen somehow, some way. Like, I've got, well, Mike's supposed to be racing Kona, so in October, and then I'm planning to do the 70.3 Indian Wells in December, and I think Mike's going to come to that too. And so with the assumption that that's going to happen, we want to start training and get back, kind of on a schedule. But the swim thing is hard for those of us who, some people don't have access to open water, or some people have access to a huge ocean like myself, but are not going to go into it. And then the pool scheduling is difficult. So I don't know how many days a week you're swimming, Mike. I can swim one day a week with my coach on Sundays. I drive, it's like a 2-hour round trip. You know what I mean? For me to drive down to Gunderson, but it's worth it. But I was not a child swimmer. So, and neither was Mike. So for us, it's not, one day a week isn't going to get us anywhere. We need, so just kind of want to talk to you a little bit, since you're, the swim pro. What can we do to support our swimming, maybe not in the pool, or like what, how can we move forward a little bit, even if we're not getting in the pool as much as we'd like to?
Right. The biggest is Dryland. Getting on a solid core, focusing in on your core, Dryland, and then going into some swim specific exercises to continue to work the core. So rotational exercises, because we do a lot of freestyle, are awesome.
Okay.
It's so much about core strength in swimming. It's not the extremities.
Okay.
Right. So That is my number one suggestion, is doing a lot of core work
Okay.
to strengthen that and incorporating rotation.
And that would explain a lot about why my swim isn't that great, because my core is not that great. Got
Well,
really strong legs.
I'm trying to think of like rotational exercises, and the only thing I can come up with is like a Russian twist with a medicine ball.
Right.
Is that a go-to?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot on the med ball or a stability ball, or
Mm-hmm.
right? Any type of exercises with that. There's also one where you stand up, and ideally, if you had like a Olympic bar, or
Mm-hmm.
you could take a piece of wood that you can fix to the ground,
Yeah.
right? Like pressed up against a tree or something, or in the corner of your house, and you kind of weight it, and you stand with one hand overhead, your feet separating, you're kind of leaning into the wood, and well, you start it with it on your shoulder, and then when you go to push it up, you rotate your body like
I
a
see.
swim stroke. So that's another really good one, because it's also, working a little bit your shoulders.
Oh,
But
I
that
see.
rotation, right? And when you're bringing it down, you control it and you push
see.
it up. So that's a direct swimming exercise that is awesome.
Is
So
there a name for that?
There probably is, but I don't know.
We'll find it. And for those, everybody's just listening. So if I had to describe the movement, it kind of looks like I'm going in for a powerful high five.
Exactly. Super
Okay.
high, like you're almost going to jump, but don't jump.
Yeah.
But you got to reach and rotate, right?
Yes.
To grab it.
But with weight. So
Yes.
so that's the difference, I get.
Yes.
Okay. So because
Yes.
I have one of those axle dumbbells. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those, but it's a barbell. It's a bar, just a barbell bar, and then it has like a wheel. It has wheels on it, 2 big wheels.
Okay.
And then I right now, because I'm weak, just use that. That's enough weight for me. You can put extra weight on the outside, so that's a regular barbell, but you can do other things with it besides. So you can lift, and do squats and back squats and stuff, but you can also roll it on the ground. So it has like these little things that your feet go in. You could roll your legs in and out, or you
Yeah.
can put it on your hands. One of the things that they have you do is a side plank, and then the hand that would normally be up is on this barbell that has the wheels, and you roll it out. So you're rotating out like that, rolling, and then pulling it back in. Yeah. I did like 4 of those on each side, and I'm still sore like days later, but it sounds like that might be a good one, because you're basically slow going out and slow going back in, and you're just using the core, but on the side.
Yeah. And do they have your arm is at what angle?
It's not up above your head like that, because you're on a side plank. So then, the arm could be up in the air if you picture a side plank.
Yeah.
Forearm side plank.
Yeah.
Is now out to the side. So you're just pushing and pulling it. So it's just getting this lat. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That helps. Mm-hmm. Is there any way to stand that bar up? Probably.
Oh, yeah. So I can do exactly what you're talking about, but with it standing up, because it. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So there's that. Core work mostly, it sounds like. So
yeah, a lot of core work. Also a lot of for your legs, but you're already using your legs. So you guys don't really, I mean, you use your legs a lot anyway, but anything explosive helps.
Okay.
From your legs.
Yeah. That would sound like burpees maybe.
A lot of burpees.
Yeah.
A lot of Supermans also for your back. And incorporate flutter kicking into it.
Yep.
Does anyone know why burpees have the name they do? I've wondered that. I can only imagine they have the name burpees because it's like that you burp right before you throw up from working out too hard.
Right, exactly. Or gasping for air.
Yeah, maybe so.
You do these awesome burps after.
Yes. So
okay,
hey,
I got it.
And you've only perfected them depending on how awesome your burp is.
Yes.
You have the best burps.
I can imagine a bunch of judges holding up the signs with 8, 9, and 10s.
That's right. Exactly.
Okay, so it says it turns out that burpees are named after their inventor, physician his first name is Royal H. Burpee. It's a royal burpee.
Sounds made up already, but let's go with it.
He invented them in the 1930s as a quick tool for testing physical fitness. The burpee was later popularized in World War II when the United States Army adopted it as part of the physical fitness assessment for new recruits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really interesting.
Yeah, that is actually because so you're a new recruit, you're nervous, you don't know what you're doing. A dude's yelling at you and you're having to do a burpee. You've never seen it before because it hasn't been popularized on the internet yet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I still like my theory, but I'll go with this one because it's on the internet.
Yeah, and everything on the internet is true, right?
Yeah.
It is true. Well, so one of them said he was a physician and the other one said he was basically like a PT. He's a PhD in PT.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes sense, I
He is
guess.
a doctor, either way.
Yeah. So I totally derailed this conversation. I've also heard that some of the Dryland technique that's effective is doing pull-ups or lat pull-downs.
Yes.
Do you incorporate that?
Absolutely. Anything working the larger core work, that's part of that's one of the largest muscles in our body, right? So you want to work your lats, any plank work, a lot of sit-ups, all of that works. The other thing I would encourage, okay, so we get the picture, Dryland working, emphasizing the core. Yes, core including your chest and your back and a little bit of shoulders, but you'll get that with whatever. But also
like your whole torso, more than your extremities, in like a 360 view. So you need to be going all the way around. Okay.
Not to forget your extremities, yes, but the emphasis is the core. So the other thing that I think is super valuable is doing what we call shadow swimming. And this is a way to really work on your technique. So you can do it in front of, you want to do it where you can see yourself, whether it's in front of a mirror or whether it's in watching your shadow, right? So the sun's behind you and you're creating your shadow on the ground and you actually watch your technique and how you're pulling. And you can simulate, the amount of rotation when you can do it looking straight ahead or also looking, going sideways so that you can watch your body position, your head positioning when you go to breathe. So, most of us lose our balance in the water when we lose our balance, it slows us down. So a lot of people, when they go to breathe, especially in open water, they're extremely inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way to work on it and visually see yourself to make the corrections. So making sure the top of your head stays down isn't pointing towards the sky. It's pointed more horizontally or at a very slight angle down. But watching to make sure that how you're executing it there isn't like your hands when you go to pull
wide,
out, right? Like you're in alignment when you're swimming. You're in like a tube. Imagine you're in a pipe when you swim, right? So you don't want your extremities to go outside that pipe because when they do, you create more drag. When you pull, if you pull super wide, like a lot of people do, at any point, the connection to your core and the execution of your stroke is going to be less powerful. So you think if you lift weights, right? Or if you're doing a pull-up, right? The wider your hands, there's a point where you lose a lot of strength because you realize you're no longer engaging your core in your pull-up. So you extend your arms as wide as you can. Well, the same thing when you swim. Like a lot of people will enter the water and then they sweep way far out. Well, or they pull kind of wide. Like what's wide? Well, if your arm is, more than a half a foot outside your body line, you're not going to be as powerful.
Yeah.
As if
I
you're
can see.
standing within your body line. So watching yourself in a mirror, I encourage, or in your reflection, or if you can't do that, then the shadowing, but specifically watching your technique and watching it and then feeling it, doing it also closing your eyes and seeing if you can maintain that. And doing sets, you're going to fatigue yourself in doing this, but you're also training your body and your muscles on what is the proper movement. And when we do this, it's not to tense up. The other thing when we swim, which is great at slowing us down, is we think, we got to push it hard. And when we do that,
Yes.
we naturally tense up. Well,
Yes.
when we hold that tension, that slows us down. It actually causes us to drag more through the water. Because for the water to float us, the more relaxed we are, the easier it can hold us up. But the tenser we are, the heavier we're going to be in the water. And so it's harder to use let the water do its job by floating us up. So we want to work with that. So when we execute this shadow swimming, you want to notice, keeping your shoulders down, seeing how you can do it, but more controlled, but relaxed.
I like the relaxed idea because my default is tensing and trying to power through. I remember starting swimming and I was trying to approach swimming like I would a CrossFit workout. Just really gut it out and just rip at the water and fight against it. And I started realizing that there's so many people, and this is out in Aquatic Park in San Francisco, passing me effortlessly while I was doing all the work and going nowhere.
Well, swimming masters with Janet and all these swim friends I have that are much better swimmers than I am. I'll be in my lane and I can see, Janet's a few lanes over in the faster, and I can tell the way I feel is not as smooth as those guys are swimming, because they're just kind of like gliding through the water. And I can feel in my body that I am not gliding. You know what I mean? I'm fighting the water. And I have learned over the years to kind of tell myself to relax, because when I do, I actually do speed up a little bit and it doesn't hurt as much.
Right.
Yeah.
But my default is tense. And when I'm tense, my shoulders are tense. And then my pull is wide because I've got kind of bunchy muscles. That's how my body is anyway. So my shoulder like the flexibility in my shoulders is a little bit like not great, just from the way my muscles are kind of bunchy here. And I've learned, like in yoga, they always were pushing my shoulders down. I'm like, actually, that's just my muscle. But the second those puppies tense up, there's no way I can bring my arm in because it's to pull. It just it like locks the shoulder up. So it's a sort of like effect of trickling down, in terms of my form. So one of the questions I have though is so I have the tense shoulders so that will cause me to pull out wide. My other thing is that, so what I can actually, it's the reverse. I can feel sometimes if my shoulders are tense when I'm bringing my arm up out of the water. It's not like an elbow up high like this. It's like flat and wide coming around.
And that's okay. That is okay. Your recovery, actually, it's much better to think of swinging your arms rather than the super high elbow.
Oh.
Because when you do the high elbow, you actually do contract everything in your shoulder, which we don't want. The recovery is the recovery, which means when we recover, we don't want to be bunching things up. We want to loosen it up. So your recovery is you want to relax your arm and just swing it to the front.
Okay.
But when you swing, you want to make sure you don't swing so hard that your hand ends up directly over your head. You swing to shoulder width.
Okay, shoulder width.
And when your hands are shoulder width, you're rotated, right?
Yeah.
When your hand enters. And then you just want to think about more or less pulling straight back along that outside body line that you've entered. You'll do there will be a natural stall motion or little wave motion as you pull back. But the key when you pull is you don't want to do it with a straight arm underwater. You want to bend.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a natural straight armor. So I definitely have to think about bending. And you know it is, I'm weak. I've got a weak upper body. I mean, it's like
Well, that doesn't help. That makes it even weaker with the straight arm, right?
Yeah.
well, I think my arms are just kind of you know what, I'm relying on my kick is what's happening. I just
Right.
kind of, my arms just kind of go bleh under the water and I kick as hard as I can. That's how I get through the night.
So when you do your dry land, so this is super important, Lindsay, because you can learn this in your dry land to when you go to use whatever weights you do, or even your body weight, if you do it all with a straight arm, you're going to be much weaker. So we want to have, our elbows bend at our elbows.
Okay.
So that you can create greater force. And the force isn't so much coming from your arm, it's a response in freestyle to the power that you're generating from your rotation, which is coming from your core. So if you do it with a straight arm, you essentially cut it off because now you're just using your shoulder, your deltoid, all that to pull with.
And that's what happens. I get super sore shoulders and neck pulling.
Right. So you can simulate that with weights, like try and lift, from overhead, try and keep your arms straight versus letting it bend. You'll realize, I'm incorporating now my pec and lat.
Good point.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's so much with so many people who were swimming, they weren't trained to swim. Right. They think, oh yeah, I'm going through these motions. Yeah, I got it. Right. But, and if I train really hard, I'll get faster. And it's like, swimming is the most, it relies more on your finesse, on your technique than any of the other sports.
Yes.
And biking or running. So it is critical. And this time out, this time is an awesome time to get to up level your swimming by hyper focusing on your technique. So that's why, like, really watching yourself in the mirror and see how you're executing it and realizing, okay, well, if I do it with a straight arm, am I going to be stronger? Or if I, slow it down, if I bend at the elbow a little bit and press the water back towards my feet, is that going to feel stronger? Right? And for those of you that don't have access to a swim coach all the time, well, you know what? Perfect time to practice on your technique. If you want to practice in the water, is book a lane, even if it's 30 minutes. You don't need an hour. You don't need that. Like, whatever there's available, book it and just go and practice once or twice a week, specifically just your technique. Forget about the speed. Just focusing on your technique.
Yeah, I like how you put that, Jen, and it's just this perfect time to be able to practice this, and especially I think that during this pandemic has been a time of creativity. So I think more of us are open to doing stuff like practicing shadow swimming or looking in the mirror and looking at our technique.
Creativity and slowing down.
Yeah.
We have been forced to slow down. Well, let's take it. Let's take advantage of it. Let's incorporate that into every avenue, including how we train.
Yeah.
Like, be more mindful with how we're training versus just pounding it out.
That's a good point.
We're so much more effective.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if I think of my swim workout as trying to get a certain distance in, all I'm doing is counting yards. I'm not thinking about my technique as much as I am. And right now, the only swim workout I'm going to is got a coach on the deck. I mean, a swim coach. And so he's telling me stuff. So that's helpful. But when I go on my own, I have been just sort of like focusing on yardage and not on technique. And you're right. This is a perfect time to just kind of not worry about the yards and worry more about the technique.
Exactly. And within your technique, like within your workouts, don't just put the yards outside the window, right? And instead, like, you focusing on your technique. And then at the end, where you've done, these little focus sets where you pick one thing to focus in on. For for
Mhm.
either a specific time period or per length, and then you change it. You get a series of, whatever, 1, 2, 5, 8 different things, and you just keep rotating through them for the whole time. And then at the end, you go, okay, I'm going to practice swimming 100 yards fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Right? While incorporating fast and relaxed or calm. Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, it reminds me of my Walnut Creek Masters team, and my coach Carrie would always,
I love Carrie.
don't you?
The
Yeah.
best.
He, special coach,
Yes, he is.
he would always help me focus on one thing at a time during drills. And it really helped me to hyper focus on that one thing and eventually start putting it together. Because if we think about it, I mean, there's just so many different parts of swimming that to try to learn it all at once.
You can't.
I mean, people, yeah, you can't.
Swimming is like the only sport I've ever played where you can't size someone up in terms of how they're going to perform. Like when I first started doing masters, I'm in the locker room and there's all these different body types and different ages and different, like everything different. And normally, like I was a runner growing up. And so at track, there's certain people you can look at and be like, well, I'm for sure going to beat her. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that person's going to run faster than me. They're carrying, 70 pounds more than I am. They're not gonna be able to do it. In the pool, I mean, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And, I got in the pool and there were some old ladies because I was way at the slow lane because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they were so sweet and they helped me a lot. Just like, they're like, calm down, it'll be okay. They were but there were some women that looked exactly like them that were like up in Janet's lane. You know what I mean? Like also old ladies and just killing it. And it's all about this technique, and it's not about like, your quads. You've got these overbuilt quads or whatever, on the track. Which I love. I love that about swimming. I love that it's something I'm going to be able to do forever, and that's awesome because I don't know that running will be forever, but swimming is like, especially if you get the technique down, because I do hear people saying that they have, oh, my neck, I've got a neck issue now, I can't really swim, and I think that doing what Janet's suggesting in terms of getting the technique and then the strength is going to be key to like longevity, because you can injure your shoulder and neck if you're just swinging it randomly and not doing and not having proper technique. I feel like you can get an overuse sort of thing going in here.
I have that going right now, and it's helped me to slow down actually and really focus on my technique, which is great because some pain in the rotator cuff, just a little strain there. But the great part about that, like Janet's saying, is I've been able to slow down and really focus on technique and not just try to gut it through.
And one thing, yeah, exactly. And then the other thing I learned early on, like, so the very first year I was on Menlo Masters, they do this killer quad I've talked about before on the show, where there's like 4 swim challenges in the fall. So on Halloween, we swim for an hour, no stopping, but however far you go. And then on Thanksgiving, it's 5,000 yards. Christmas, it's 7,500 yards. And New Year's Day, it's 10,000 yards. And so the first year I did the hour, did the 5,000, and then on the 7,500 I was doing it, and I did it all that year. But after the 7,500, my shoulder was really, really sore, and we had a coach, Rick, Rick, Coach Rick, this very slow, really sweet guy. I mean, but it would take him 10 hours to give you the workout. He would be like, okay, and you're like freezing in the water, like, Rick. But he had some good suggestions, and I said to him after he checked in with me because he knew it was my first time, and he was like, how'd it go? And I said, my shoulder's sore. And he's like, well, I noticed that you were doing open turns in the water and not a flip turn. And I was like, yeah, I don't really, because I feel like I get extra air when I do an open turn, but he really encouraged me to get my flip turn down, because on the open turn, I would grab the edge of the pool like that and push off every time. And I did that for 7,500 yards, a little tiny. And what I realized is the smallest grab of my hand and the push for my shoulder, just repetitive, killed me. Yeah. And so I slowed down a little bit on the 10,000 because I wasn't good at flip turns, but I didn't have the neck pain then. Yeah. So just some little, and so he said, if you can't do a flip turn, at least use an open hand, so you're not grabbing, because I would like grab and pull a tiny bit and then push off, and it
Yeah,
was
just,
enough to.
we call it a touch and go. So you touch and go, you don't grab.
Right.
Mhm.
So flat hand. So if you're
Yeah.
having neck pain, Mike, I don't know if you're doing flip or open turns. but if you're
I'm
doing,
flip turning. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Neck's just fine. I've just I don't have great rotation, so I've just relied on trying to gut it out with my shoulder.
Yeah, but focus in on your catch.
Mhm. Okay.
And making sure that you are shoulder width.
Yes.
And when you go to catch, you want to your hand. So if it's too close to the surface and you try and press with your fingers back,
Mhm.
you can impinge it. So drop on your catch, drop it down, like so you're 8 to 10 inches below the surface before you start your catch.
That, I think that just sparked a light bulb in my head, and that's exactly what I need to do, because I can feel that right now. I think what I'm going to do too is we're going to put this on YouTube so we can get the video too, because so much of what we've been talking about is body position.
Mhm.
We've been describing it, but Janet's been modeling and demonstrate these techniques, and so I think it'd be helpful for all of us to have that visual.
Mhm.
Unfortunately for me, I didn't even brush my hair this morning, so I'm gonna say right now, sorry, it's on YouTube, and I got a messed up haircut.
It's okay. I'm like, I didn't look at. None of us are prepared for YouTube, but whatever.
But
We're doing
whatever.
it now.
Yeah,
Being of service.
I've always had bad ideas, so this could be one of them.
But it's true, because Janet is showing us a lot of visual stuff, and I think it'll be super helpful. We don't have a ton more time, because I know Janet needs to leave to go do her open water swim.
Yep.
Is it open water?
No, today it's a pool swim.
Oh,
but
cool.
no,
Okay.
I got my reserved time, so.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
With open water, I have a little more flexibility.
Right. But I want to kind of circle back to sighting in open water, because all triathletes need to sight. A lot of us don't get much, if any, direction on how to do that correctly.
Mhm.
I know for me, it's like a battle out there, and I'm just looking, every few strokes, and I know that what I'm doing is I'm taking a breath. I breathe every third, so that's good, because I can breathe on both sides, no problem. But what I do which that part's good. But when I sight, I will lift up and then I swing my head all the way around so I can see, and then I go back in the water. And after like 2.4 miles of that, my fucking neck is killing me.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely head way up out of the water. Like, I don't know how to do it.
Right. So number one, you do not want your head to come completely out of the water. You want to be more stealth. And you want to, the further out you are, you want to have a sighting visual or idea from looking higher above, because you can't see anything at ground level anyway.
Yeah.
Or water level anyway. So you want to look higher, more on the horizon. But ideally, when you sight, maybe your mouth comes out, but it's like right below your nose. That's as high as you come out with your eyes. You're not trying to take a breath. So when you go to sight, as you're bringing your arm forward, you glance up and then you roll right into it. So you're minimizing how much you're losing your balance.
Oh, okay.
And so that means, I didn't quite get it. Like you got to sight 2 or 3 times. It doesn't slow you down.
Okay.
Because you're not losing so much balance and you're not exerting so much effort to get that head up.
Yeah, I see.
Well, it's crazy because I do swim out in the bay quite often, and there's a group of us. Oh my God. And so sometimes there's an escort with us and they videotape, just because it's like there's seals out there and birds and all this stuff. So capturing all that, but you'll see. So one day there was a seal they love us, and they some days they'll swim right with us, right? So we're heading back, and the seal was with us the whole time. And the seal is behind the one guy who's leading. And he's like, when he comes up to sight, he's so inefficient. His whole head comes out of the water, like his neck, and it's like, and you see him, he's like bouncing through the water, trying to get. Well, this seal gets behind him, and every time he raises his head up, the seal like pops out of the water, and emulating him. It was hilarious. But I'm like, okay, so this seal is just laughing at this guy and how inefficient he is.
Yeah.
And playing, oh, that looks like fun. It's like this seal was like chest high coming out, right? You don't want to do that. So when you sight, just know it's more, you're going to save yourself a lot of energy by sighting more. If you have to sight like 2 or 3 times in a row or 4, whatever, in order to get the good visual, but saying stealth flight is going to be way less taxing than if you do what you were describing earlier.
Yeah, full head out, like rotating the neck. The wetsuit's now pressing on my neck this way, so that I'm just struggling against it, so that I'm nice and sore by the time I start my bike ride.
Really good burn then.
Great burn, missing skin, aching shoulders, and I'm like, let's get on the bike.
I'm ready.
Well, I know Janet's got to go to swim, and we got to go to work, and I need to go to work. Mike needs to make his kids breakfast.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Janet, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Janet.
Like perfect. So helpful.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah. And Mike, nice meeting you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully I'll see you soon, face to face sometime, maybe swimming. Maybe I'll venture out and swim with you guys in the bay if I can get someone else slow to come with me.
Wait until it's warmer. It's too cold right now.
Yeah, well, and I'm busy at work, but in the spring.
Yeah. Let it warm up a bit more. Yeah. It feels like it's starting to, but I don't think
no, it's I'm good. A heated pool is fine.
I'm having a hard time going.
Oh, well, if that's the case, then there's no way I'm kidding.
Like, psychologically, it's like, oh my God, do I want to do this again? But we've been going before, at 6:30, 6:45. So
yeah, the time works, but not the temperature. Yeah, that makes sense. The timing's perfect. The temperature, no. So you let me know when it warms up, and I'll come out and maybe.
Probably in April.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, guys.
All right, have a great day. Bye, Age Groupies. We'll see you next week. All right, see ya.
Bye.
Alrighty, that concludes today's episode of the Age Groupies Podcast with me, Lindsay Hiken, and my co-host, Mike Ergo. We really hope you enjoyed it. You can follow the show on Instagram at Age Groupies, join our Age Groupies page on Facebook, and look us up by name, Lindsay Hiken and Mike Ergo on Strava. If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, feel free to email us at agegroupies@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, as this really helps us get more exposure while we try to grow this little venture. And of course, if you have friends you think might like the show, please be sure to share it with them. But for now, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next week.